Hey everyone, Andrew here, and it's time for another manga series review. So most of the time with these manga series, I've been doing smaller ones, like, 5, 10, 15, 20 chapter type things. Nothing that is what most manga are known for, which are the long, expansive things, such as Dragon Ball and Naruto and One Piece, which will never end type of thing. So I figured I would take a look into one of those and go briefly over it and what my thoughts were and all that, and I decided to start with one that ended very recently, which is Fairy Tail. I'm just going to go briefly over what the plot of these overarching series is, little talks about different things that happen throughout, and give you my thoughts overall about the series in general. So, Fairy Tail is a story about wizards in a magical world, and there is this guild of magicians called the Fairy Tail Guild. And it's just following three of their main characters' adventures and what they go into. So our main character for the story, because we follow her for pretty much the entire story, is Lucy Hartfilia, and she is a celestial wizard who basically is a summoner. She uses keys to summon celestial creatures to fight on her behalf. She's trying to escape from her father's oppression and go off and have her own adventure and figure out things about herself and her power. And her goal and dream is to collect all 12 celestial keys to make her the strongest celestial magician in the world, because there's only 12 and she has 4 of them at the start. So she ends up running into this other wizard named Natsu Dragnel, and he is a fire wizard who is also a dragon slayer. Lucy's already skeptical because dragons don't really exist anymore. They used to be a thing, but all of them have died out. No one has seen a dragon in over 100 years. And Natsu is accompanied by his friend slash familiar Happy, who is basically a humanoid cat. They end up getting caught in this kerfuffle thing and a fight and have to team up together to take down this enemy. And Natsu is a very powerful flame magician. He can also take fire and eat it to gain energy, which is kind of cool. It's like he can use his own power to power himself up, or use the fire around him to power himself up. But he has this unfortunate side effect of his personality, whereas he cannot stand traveling in any type of vehicle. Second he gets on any type of vehicle, he gets nauseous and sick and starts falling over, which is a long-running joke for the entire series. Is, oh, I'm okay, I'm starting to get used to... Yeah, that's the kind of humor we're going to be working with a little bit. But the three of them together manage to take out this evil land baron person, and Natsu's like, I really like you, you should come with me and join my mages guild, Fairy Tail. And Lucy agrees and joins him, and they become the main characters of the series, as following these three specifically. We end up going to Fairy Tail, and you meet all of the cast of wonderful characters and all these interesting side people. There are a couple people that are very important to the plot. The first would be Gray Fullbuster. He is an ice wizard. He is basically, he's Natsu's rival, and they constantly are competing together, but he has this really bad habit where, because of how he was trained to use ice magic, he doesn't sense coldness, so he has a really bad habit of his clothes just falling off, and him just walking around in his underwear, and not realizing it. And yeah, so there's the fan service for the ladies there, because every couple pages, oh, he's naked again. Enjoy. I will get on the fan service in a minute. We also meet Ezra Scholar. Ezra Scholar is one of the most powerful wizards in Fairy Tail. She's one of the S class. And her power is she can summon armor and weaponry to fight in. Basically, she creates her own armor and weapons to fight with. She's a really interesting character. She has this dark backstory of that she was kind of sold into slavery as a kid, and her friends had this really nearly kind of died thing, but then she discovered her magic. But she's an interesting character, and it's really interesting because one of her main friends and main love interest starts out as a villain, and he's trying to change the world and force it to get rid of like slavery and all the stuff that they had to deal with growing up. And he dies, and she's heartbroken. But he then ends up being resurrected in a later chapter and ends up befriending her and becomes a, let's say, like, instead of being like evil or good, he becomes gray. He's like, I do good things in a dark way. So it all balances out, sort of. And basically, these are our core main 5 characters, and they are constantly going out and fighting together and going on missions. And it gets into that really repetitive anime action adventure series where it's like, okay, we have been given this mission, we need to go out and defeat this person. Oh, this person's really strong, we need to work really hard together. Oh, we defeated that person. Okay, and we head back, we have one goofball chapter that has nothing to do with anything, and oh, hey, we got another job, we need to go do this, take out this person. And it just builds up and up and up until you get to the big overarching boss of the series. This is fine, like, this is every action adventure series of anime does this, Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, every single series does this, for the most part. There's usually like a bunch of little sub-bosses and maybe one overarching boss. It's not unusual, and this one does it well enough, except for the fact that they rely a lot on magic being the answer, and their magic specifically. So it has a lot of deus ex magic, or deus-ex-machina, which is like, oh, this person is completely stronger than me and can take out my magic really easily, and I'm having such a hard time fighting this person. Oh wait, I have this spell that I've never used. Oh, I beat him in 2 seconds. Yay! Managed to beat him using this spell that was never mentioned and I may never use again. This is really bad when you get to any of the arc involving Ezra. Because hers is I can summon armor and do this, she will basically pick an armor set that this is what she's known for at this time until she gets nearly defeated in it. And then she's like, I can't win. Oh, wait. And she switches to another new armor set and then just kicks the guy's butt in 5 minutes. And she does this every single time she comes against a strong opponent. She never gets like a different type of magic or anything. She just gets a new armor and a new fighting style and keeps going. And as I mentioned with the fan service earlier, with this one, every single piece of new outfit that she gets is skimpier than the last. So, yeah. And they gain multiple different people throughout the night. We find out that there's multiple Dragon Slayers that all have different type abilities. You have Wendy, and she has her own familiar cat, Carla. And Wendy is a wind Dragon Slayer, so she can use wind to power herself up. And you get Gajeel, who is a steel or an iron Dragon Slayer, and he can eat iron to gain power, which is kind of cool and kind of interesting. So yeah, part of the reason I didn't do one of these before is you have to, because I don't want to go through every single one of these chapters and tell you every single little bit about this, because that's tedious and annoying, and what's the point? Most of the chapters follow, like I said, the same beat. There's always a new people introduced, new characters get introduced. Most of the time they prove out to be non-interesting or not that. And basically, this series is long enough that it hits every single thing that you kind of expect a series like this to hit. It's like, do we have a big evil arching boss at the end? Yes. Do our characters have to break up and then get back together and then break up and then fight each other and then get back together and realize that friendship is the biggest and most important thing in the world? Yes, that all happens. And you find out that Happy and all of these little cat familiars are all from another universe that doesn't have magic, and they go there and they have to figure out how to use magical tools because they can't create magic anymore. It's not filler because it does add some stuff to it, but it's kind of pointless overall. And there's so much that happens in this that's like trying to explain it is just kind of insane because like Natsu and Wendy and all of the Dragon Slayers are not from our time. They're all like hundreds of years old. They were all trained by dragons to be dragon slayers and were raised by dragons and then were put into hibernation for like 100 years, and then all of the dragons disappeared and they woke up and are like, we need to find our dragon masters. But they also all call themselves dragon slayers, even though none of them have slayed a dragon, other than they may have, kind of. That may be where their power comes from, I think. But basically, it all built up until we get to the two big evils of the series. And the two big evils of the series are Zeref and Echnalgia. So, Zeref is an immortal wizard, one of the first wizards that ever existed, and he has an innumerable amount of power, and he cannot be killed in any way, shape, or form. He has a special connection to Natsu, in that Natsu is his son, kind of. It's kind of his clone, really, more than anything. It's confusing. Basically, like, Natsu is all of the stuff that Zeref gave up on and pushed out of himself into another form. Now it's like Natsu's role is to basically die at the hands of Zeref, but Lucy and everyone's going to do everything in their power to stop that. And Zeref is basically his king of his own other country that has super powerful magicians. So they decide to wage war on the main kingdom and like the Fairy Tale Guild and all of the guilds specifically. And it just gets great, like just crazy, ridiculous, like full-blown war with everyone fighting and attacking and killing each other, trying to kill each other. And that's really cool. It's a really good build-up. Except the author has this really bad habit, especially in this final arc, of putting someone in a situation that should kill them and then not. Or having a character sacrifice themselves to save other people, and then next chapter they're alive and fine. And this once in a while is okay. I don't have a huge problem with this as a thing to do, but in this final arc, in this final story, he does this like 18 times. To the point where it gets freaking ridiculous. It's like, and it takes so much of the drama out and so much of the impact out of, because I really liked Gajeel, the Iron Warrior, and he started having this relationship with one of the mages who had drawing magic, that she could create things through her drawings. And they were like bickering, but they had a connection and it was really strong, and she almost died and he sacrificed himself to save her. And it was like the most heartfelt, like, love thing he could have done. And it's like, and like he like was eviscerated. There was nothing that should have survived. And 2 chapters later, due to someone using one spell that transports them all to different areas, he wakes up alive and is fine. Okay, and that's one of the first ones where that happens. Like, you're like, okay, that kind of takes the power out of him sacrificing himself, but I'm happy he's alive. We can lead to that. But then it happens again. And then it happens again. And then you get to the point where the leader of Fairy Tale does the spell that he knows will kill him. And he knows it won't even actually stop anything. He's like, but it will lessen the number of forces against them. He does this move that he 100% knows will kill him. And he's already like 100 years old and doesn't need to survive. And he still survives. And he's still the leader of Fairy Tale in the end. It's just like, and everyone survives. No one dies in this huge final epic war. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, even, spoiler alert, even when they defeat and destroy Zeref, he comes back. But now as a good guy, along with his love interest, who was the creator of Fairy Tale, who's been basically trapped in an ice tomb for the entire story. Because she knew she had to stay alive so she could help destroy Zeref. They both came back to life as young kids and have a second chance of having a normal life. That's just like, jeez Louise. Like, the only person that dies in this entire arc is Archnalgia, the other main villain. And Nausea is barely a villain. He is basically a crazed, all-powerful dragon who only shows up in later part of the series, destroys the island that the people on Fairy Tail are on, but they manage to survive by going into like a time bubble for like 5 years, and then they wake up 5 years in the future, because every anime series this long needs a time skip. I'm kidding, I don't like time skips, especially when it's pointless like this one was. And it's like, we can add more drama if we jump 5 years in the future, and now Fairy Tail's in distress. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's finish with Acheron. So, basically, he does nothing for the entire part of the series, shows up, destroys the island, they're like, oh no, he's too powerful, we can't do anything to stop him. He leaves, he comes back, and now he's going to destroy the world, and they're like, oh no, we need to stop him. And they had to get all of the Dragon Slayers together, and using all of their power, and he was trying to like create a rift in space to try and just like destroy the universe, but they managed to destroy him, and he's the only thing that dies in this entire arc. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? So it's like you get to the end of the series, and this has one of the more annoying anime finales, which is the non-finale. Which is, you built up, you did all this stuff, everything should be different, everything should change because there was so much that happened. You get to the very end of the series, they are the exact same people in the exact same situation they were at the start of the series. There's a lot to do this. Slayers does this. Any series that thinks that they might get a second season or might continue on does this to a certain extent, where it's just like, oh yeah, no, we defeated the ultimate evil, the biggest thing that we could. We're still going out and doing missions and having fun and just hanging out together. We have not become couples. We have not grown in any real shape or form. We're just a little stronger than we were at the start of the series. Yeah. No, if you cannot tell, I really, really hated the way this series ended. Which is sad because, like, I really liked the series. The series itself is fairly good. It's got good action, good characters, it's funny. Like, I think the only thing I can really say about the whole beginning half of the stories, besides the fact that it's predictable and repetitive, is the fact that they rely a lot on fan service. And I've had this discussion with one of my friends who really likes the series, and she's like, there's not that much fan service in there. Like, literally one of the main characters' clothes falls off every few minutes. And another one strips to gain power. And just the number of times that they're like, oh, here's a part you might get to see Lucy naked. Like, here's a part where you might see Ezra naked. It's like, it relies on this a lot. And it's annoying, because it does not, like, I get it, there's some shows that have to have this, that need this. But there's a certain point where you don't really need to do that this much. Like, Fairy Tail, after, I would say maybe you can do that a lot, like the first 100 chapters. Okay, sure. You're still building your audience, you're still trying to get people in. You can cut back on the sex and the stuff and all of that further you get in. Because, like, once you have the fan base, you can do that. That's what Game of Thrones did. First 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, there's a boob every half hour. Last, 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, you're lucky to see a boob once a season. Which I'm fine with. Like, it got to the point where the story's good enough, you don't need to rely on the fan service. Fairy Tail's story did get to the point where it was good enough that it didn't need that fan service at all. And yet they still kept shoving it in, and every time they shoved it in, I would just roll my eyes and be like, really? More of this? Seriously? Can we stop? And again, there's a lot of the deus-ex-machina thing of, oh, we're magicians. I'm having a hard time fighting this person. They're kind of beating all of my spells. Oh wait, I have this one spell that I've never used, or that I just learned. Or I can do this thing with my celestial keys, where if I break one, I can gain the power of this, but I lose this ability to use this key from then on. Or, hey, I have this set of armor that just appeared that I can use to kick your ass. Like, it happens so much. And it gets so ridiculous. Where you're like, geez Louise. Just every problem is only a problem until they decide it's not a problem anymore. And it's frustrating and annoying in that sense. Yeah, one of the things that they did in the series was they did time jumps a couple times. And The only one I have real problem with is the one that was caused by the evil dragon, where they time traveled 5 years into the future for no reason other than to add more drama to, hey, we were doing this really good as our magic grip fairy tale. We are now considered one of the shittiest ones. We need all of you strong people who disappeared for 5 years to boost us back up to being good. So let's go compete in a tournament to show how great we are. It's like, we didn't need the 5-year jump for that. You could have just said, hey, people don't like us right now because of something we did where somebody got hurt, like a city got destroyed or a lot of damage happened. We should improve our record. We can go do this. Because it's not like they were training for 5 years, which is usually what they did with the other time jumps is, hey, we went off and trained for 5 years to get stronger. This is, we were in comas. We were knocked out in time bubbles for 5 years. We are not any stronger than when we left. So there's no reason for the time jump other than to add drama. Yeah, and then again, we get to that final arc. And the final arc started so good. They did a great job of setting up Zareth as this unbeatable, unstoppable force with these super powerful magicians who all have some connection or some importance to the main character. One of them, it turns out to be like Lucy's nanny from when she was a kid. One of them is Ezra's mom. You get that connection between Natsu and Zareth as being father-son twin clone thing. It's and then you get into the fake deaths and the dragging things out. And hey, we're all here. We're ready to go fight. Oh, this person cast a magic spell. We're now all in completely different locations. We all have to keep fighting. This may take longer. It's the dragging the series out for no particular reason other than to make more money or to make the series longer. And then the just non-committal, cliched endings that you get in anime. Like, I really want to do a list at some point that's like the top 5 worst common cliched anime endings, where it's like the series ends with this type of ending. This one would probably be my number 5 or number 4 on that list, which is the anime that does not actually end. Where you get to the final part of the final arc of the series, and all these characters have had so much growth, and so much personality, and so much time to get to know each other, and to grow, and be better people. And you get to the end of the series, and they are the exact same place, the exact same people doing the exact same things that they did at the start of the series. The series literally ends with Natsu and Lucy and Happy going off to do a mission for the guild. And they're still doing adventures and it's like the exact same place that they started. Yeah, like, that to me is one of those, oh, okay, you want another season. You want to do Fairy Tail 2. This is what you're trying to do, is you're trying to leave it open so you can do a spin-off or something else. But not have to do, like, Boruto, where it's the kids, or something. Okay. I hate it. I get it to a certain extent, but like in this one, it's nuts and just drives me nuts up. You've had all of this character growth, all of this time. You had 63 manga books, not chapters, the full like 6 set books. You've had 63 of those. You've had 328 episodes. You had a really popular series that did very well, and I understand not wanting to leave it closed, but you really should just you can't finish it, really? You just want to leave it super open-ended? Like, the series that do this kind of ending that I have no problem with are like Slayer, where it's like, this was only 20 chapters or 5 books or something. It's a pretty short one. We can tell you more stories from these characters, and things do not have to necessarily change for them. But there needs to be some kind of growth, some kind of movement forward when you have this much time and this many books and this many chapters, and you had them all having relationships and getting to know each other and developing deep feelings for each other, and yet none of the couples are couples, really. Except for like 1 or 2 of the side ones, and we can't even 100% say that they are actually a couple now. None of the characters who could, grow and become better people have really grown all that much. They're roughly the same person they were at the beginning of their arc, or after they got their butts kicked by Natsu, and now they're in good arc, which happened a lot. There's a lot of making your villain your friend in this, which I liked. Honestly, a lot of those characters were super interesting. I really liked a lot of them. Like, all the Dragon Slayers, except for Wendy, all started out as villains, and you had to win them over, and that was really cool, and I liked that. You had Laxus Dreyer, who is the grandson of the current guildmaster, and basically the one who should be the next in line, but the leader of Fairy Tail basically refuses to do it, so he tries to lead a revolt and picks out like 5 former Fairy Tail members that nobody wants to associate with because they're all villain, evil people, and wages war against Fairy Tail. And he actually becomes one of the better supported characters, and really good character who had really good growth. And honestly, if he had been made in charge of Fairy Tail at the end of the series, that would have been good. That would have been a good character arc for him, because he had grown from someone who wanted to lead, but didn't have the right personality, the right drive, to becoming a character who cared about the people that was in his group, cared about doing what was right for everyone, trying to rescue everybody, trying to sacrifice himself to save everyone. And like, he could have easily become the next guy because he worked up for it. But no, they kept the old man who could have easily passed away with only like a little bit of crying. But yeah, again, hate the fact that they just because that's the thing to me, is like, I can understand you didn't want to kill off any of the main characters. Fine. So it's really sad when Naruto has more balls than you and actually can kill off characters and have it be impactful and important, whereas you're too scared to do that with any of your characters. Just really pissed me off. So yeah, if I count how the series finished and how it ended, I have to give the entire series a 2.5. Like, that final arc is so bad and so frustrating and so annoying that it just drags the entire series down for me, that I can't even think about it as a series that I liked anymore. It's a series that I saw, that I thought was good, but like a lot of anime series, the ending was so bad that it just tainted the entire series for me. So I cannot in good conscience recommend this to anybody. That said, if you want a good action adventure magician story, I recommend this one up to a point. Like, once Zeref and all that starts, go ahead and skip the rest of it. You don't when you see the first mention of Zeref and they start showing pictures of him, you can put the book down and stop. You don't need to read any more than that. Honestly, so far I'm more happy with what I'm getting from Black Clover, which, except for the fact that it's completely derivative, that it's just Naruto and One Piece and Dragon Ball Z rolled together kind of thing with magic, is still more interesting with as good characters. I like that lead more than I like the Natsu from this. So, like, if I'm gonna recommend if I had to choose, if I was gonna recommend, I'd recommend Black Clover. Like, Black Clover, once it gets going, is very good. With Fairy Tail, it's like it starts off very good, and it maintains very good, and then it falls horribly at the finish line. Yeah, and that's my thoughts on Fairy Tail, the series. What did you all think? Let me know. Did you like the way the series ended? Did you like, the fan service, or the time jump, or any of that stuff? Do you think there's a way this ending could have been better? Do you think there's stuff that could have been done differently? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Happy reading, y'all.